Welcome to Harry's Hook. I am a journalist, big fan of boxing. I've written published articles on it. I also train and spar. 2023 was a big year in undisputed prize fighting. We recently had Inoue. Earlier on, we had Crawford, several other undisputed matchups. But on February 17th, 2024, we've got the coup de grace, the undisputed heavyweight crown on the line when the Gypsy King, Tyson Fury, the WBC and widely regarded lineal heavyweight champion, takes on Oleksandr Usyk of Ukraine, Alexander the Great, the unified WBA, WBO, IBF, and Ring Magazine heavyweight champion. In today's video, I'm going to preview the bout, talk about the boxers, advantages, disadvantages, some X factors that could determine the outcome, and then ultimately give my prediction. But first, if you enjoy this content, do me a solid. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. I appreciate your support. Let's start with Tyson Fury. Some top line numbers. He's 35 years old, has a record of 34-0-1 with 24 knockouts, and he's listed at 6'9" with an 85-inch reach. Fury is huge and versatile. He can box on the outside, bang on the inside, utilizes tricky feints, will sometimes switch stances, and has shown a ton of heart. Oleksandr Usyk is 36, on the precipice of 37 years old. His record is 21-0 with 14 knockouts, and he stands at 6'3" with a 78-inch reach. Usyk is a highly technical southpaw with sophisticated footwork, an active lead hand, near constant confusing movement, precise punches, and unflappable determination. The most clear and obvious advantage that Fury has is his sheer size. He has a 6-inch listed height advantage, 7-inch reach advantage, and weighed in at about 280 pounds for his last fight, 60 pounds heavier than Usyk's last weigh-in. You just can't teach that. And part of what makes Fury so special is the fact that he moves like a much smaller man, but also knows how to make use of his colossal frame. Whether that means keeping opponents at range, utilizing his reach and footwork, or marshalling his weight on the inside, controlling and wearing down the opposition. But size isn't everything in boxing. I think Fury actually kinda likes facing other behemoths because he knows he's more dynamic and can outmaneuver them. In 2013, a much smaller Steve Cunningham dropped Fury with an overhand right. Cunningham, like Usyk, was 6'3" and had moved up from cruiserweight. The Gypsy King wound up KOing Cunningham in brutal fashion in round 7, but he would go on to say how that fight was one of his most challenging. And one of the tools that helps Fury triumph in these challenges is not just his size and skill, but his ring IQ. From longer range, I would bet that we'll see Fury make use of his favorite combination, which I made a video about. It's a decoy left hook followed by a hard right. Now, part of what makes this combo effective is that Fury will often establish his lead hook first, which makes that hook feint command more respect and sets the table for the right hand. But Fury needs to be careful of how much he loves this combination. Ngannou caught and dropped him with a counter left hook when he doubled up on it. From the outside, Fury also loves to feint and break his opponent's rhythm, create openings, gather intel. It's a tactic that Usyk also enjoys, so if you're going to play a drinking game related to these guys feinting each other, you're going to be in the morgue before Michael Buffer takes his seat. But Fury is tricky on the inside too. In the third fight of the trilogy with Wilder, 10th round, Wilder throws a right to the body. Fury smothers it, presses up against Wilder's right arm, and waits, knowing the Bronze Bomber only has his left available. He then rolls under the left he knew was coming and counters with a beautiful right hand. Now, an advantage for Usyk is his southpaw stance that he uses, and the fact that according to a profile on him in the Financial Times, he forces himself to use his right hand regularly for tasks like brushing his teeth, opening doors, and there's one more thing I can imagine he trained himself to do righty, something vital to nourishing the body's needs. Obviously, he can use his right hand for his eating utensils. And thus, it shouldn't be too much of a surprise that Usyk has a powerful jab that he fires at various angles, including upward. He gets so much snap on it, In fact, it's the punch he used to finish off Dubois in his most recent fight. But it's not just the power jab. Usyk also heavily uses the jab to gauge distance, occupy the guard, and conceal his power punches. But he also is just very active with his lead hand in general, with masterful parrying and lots of motion to disguise when he actually throws. All in all, about 58% of the punches he throws are jabs, according to CompuBox, and that's one of the highest ratios in the whole sport. But let's not forget about Usyk's straight left. He disguises and times it very well. It's quick. He'll fire it up and downstairs. In fact, I think if he's going to win this fight, the straight left to the body will be a key punch for him against Fury. Another advantage is the novelty of that southpaw stance, which can throw off an orthodox fighter's rhythm and timing. And Usyk loves to use his footwork to gain the outside foot position and the advantageous angle it provides against orthodox opponents, where he can connect with punches, but they essentially can't. The last time Fury faced a southpaw was in 2019 against Otto Wallin. If you remember, Wallin opened up a nasty gash over Fury's eye and really forced him to grind out the decision win. But this southpaw advantage for Usyk is a bit mitigated by the fact that Fury himself will sometimes switch hit, though his default stance is orthodox. But while Fury had some trouble against the southpaw Wallin in that bout and showed some potential vulnerability, that win also displayed the Gypsy King's versatility. He got cut early on with a lot of blood streaming into his eye, so he adapted and turned that fight into an inside battle, where he was able to operate more on feel and less on vision. Having that ability to utilize the jab and box on the outside, or effectively slug on the inside, gives Fury multiple paths to victory. But that leaves the mid-range, which is Usyk's game. It's where Fury's size will matter least, and where Usyk's movement and technical prowess can really shine. In Usyk's first fight against a much larger Anthony Joshua in 2021, we see the most visually obvious reason for Usyk's brilliance. He didn't stop moving. The Ukrainian was constantly feinting, slipping, changing levels, hopping in and out of range, moving laterally, exhausting to watch and bewildering to fight. Joshua would often extend his lead arm to try to manage the distance, and Usyk would capitalize on the opening, something Fury should be mindful of since he likes to extend his lead arm. But that constant movement is a big reason why Usyk, according to CompuBox, has one of the lowest opponent punch connect rates in boxing. But when he does get caught, he's shown grit and determination. Round 10 in the rematch against Anthony Joshua showcased it. After getting beaten up by AJ in round 9, his most emphatic round of their matchups, Usyk came out for the 10th in vintage form, dominating the mid-range using combinations with near constant lateral movement, an active lead hand, and firing well-placed, precise punches, but also slugging if the moment called for it. Usyk has shown us that he has formidable skill and will, and if he can float in and out of mid-range, use constant motion, and stay a step ahead of Fury, utilizing his own great ring IQ, it'll be the best avenue for him to win. Okay, time for X Factors, and there are several. Fury's mental state, the very definition of an X Factor. Where is Fury's head at? Is he completely focused on boxing? When we saw him against Ngannou, it didn't look like his best. So, was that really because he overlooked the MMA star? Or has the money kind of gotten to his head? Is his dedication wavering? He's going to have to be on his A game against Usyk. Usyk's body durability. Now there's a history here. He was dropped from a body shot in the amateurs by Artur Beterbiev. No shame in that, and Usyk still won the fight. But he was also hurt to the body by Anthony Joshua, particularly in their rematch. And most recently, Daniel Dubois hit him with a borderline shot, but the ref ruled it a low blow. Okay, fine, but still, Usyk was hurt. And I think another ref could have potentially ruled that a legal punch. Point here is if Fury goes after Usyk's body, then he may find a soft target. Fury's constitution. Now, I don't think it's a major declaration here to say that his body has been through a long train of abuses. And if you got that wordplay joke, then God bless you, you've earned yourself an ice cream sundae, something wonderful. Now, Fury's durability has been a major asset over the years. It's allowed him to withstand some ungodly blows from Deontay Wilder and keep on fighting. While he's 35, which is not necessarily old for a heavyweight, his body has been through a lot. After facing the two biggest, hardest punching behemoths on the planet, getting knocked down like 4 times in his trilogy against Deontay Wilder, getting dropped once by Francis Ngannou, his body has been through the ringer. Think about the punishment inflicted over the course of those fights. And then add that to his other pro fights, to his amateur career, to sparring sessions, Fury family fist fights, I don't know. And then multiply that by the partying, the La Vida Loca lifestyle, the beer bongs, the cocaine Kilimanjaros, the binge-eating bonanzas. I mean, what do you got after all that? I'll tell you what you've got. You've got an X factor. Usyk's age. He'll be 37 years old by the time they get in the ring, and I think you have to ask, is he as dynamic as he used to be? Can he move the same way? He has looked a bit vulnerable in some recent fights, but it does beg the question of, is that because he's facing real big heavyweight hitters? Or is it because Father Time is beginning to nip at his heels? Doesn't help that Usyk will be fighting gravity the entire time, swinging up at Fury. So hopefully his shoulders haven't aged and are up to the task. Lastly, I'm going to make mention of an X factor that I don't think will apply, and that is Fury's mind games and antics. Everything that I know about Usyk tells me that he is beyond the so-called mental warfare that Fury employs. Let's make our way to a verdict. When all is said and done, I believe that Usyk will end his career higher on the all-time rankings than Fury because of his accomplishments. And you can hear more about those, some background on Fury and Usyk, and why this fight means so much for each of them in the video linked in one of these corners. But they're not sitting at a table comparing resumes on February 17th. This is a fight. And at the end of the day, I just have a hard time seeing how Usyk overcomes the size and versatility of Fury. If the Gypsy King wants to pop Usyk with long jabs, then he can do that. And if Usyk then begins to use his footwork and upper body movement to maneuver his way into the mid-range and outbox Fury, then he can transition to his brawler, power-punching style and bring his weight to bear on the inside. And I think that's where Fury will wind up taking this fight, because getting into a boxing match with Usyk is risky, even with the size advantage. You have to imagine that Fury is aware of Usyk's vulnerability to the body, and we saw Usyk's mobility and footwork get compromised when Anthony Joshua pummeled him downstairs. If this ultimately comes down to a slugging match on the inside, then you have to favor Fury. He's just so much bigger, knows how to use his weight in the clinch, and is skilled at close range. I think Fury's constitution is in question. But compared to Wilder and Ngannou, Usyk is Mr. Pillow Fists. I'd be more worried if Fury's durability was being tested by a heavy hitter like Anthony Joshua. But Usyk is a guy who gets stoppages through accumulation, not KOs out of the blue. His current mental state and motivation is a big question mark after that Ngannou fight. But if potentially becoming the first undisputed heavyweight champion in about 2 decades can't inspire an A-game performance, then nothing will. It's time to call it a career. Hang up the gloves. But considering all the lip service that he's paid to the history of boxing, I assume that somewhere deep in his marrow, this does matter. And so I have Fury winning via decision, not gonna say unanimous or majority or split, because I can see this being a close win or a comfortable win. But either way, I will say that if Usyk is able to pull off the upset, I'll be thrilled for him. And that right there is Harry's hook. Let me know what you think in the comments. How do you see this fight playing out? Which factor do you think will be the most decisive? And who do you have winning?